Hi friends, this is Nicholas Vitale, and today we're covering TransUnion's acclaimed identity and credit monitoring service, IdentityForce. In this review of IdentityForce, I'll be covering what we liked and what we didn't, the feature set, the plan options, and I'll give you a peek at how user-friendly the online dashboard and mobile application is. At the end, you'll see why we think IdentityForce might not be for you, or maybe it could. But I'll tell you why. Visit houseofdebt.org for the full review, as well as our honest reviews of other identity theft products. There you will find not only the full review of IdentityForce, but also honest reviews of other identity protection services. So go ahead and check that out. What we like. Diving in, this includes comprehensive monitoring of your identity, social security number, logins, addresses, etc. Your financial accounts, dark web scanning to make sure your information isn't leaked or vulnerable, and credit reports/scores from all three of the major credit bureaus. And they check out your social media accounts for inappropriate content. What a little cherry on top. Not only that, to remain competitive with the likes of LifeLock and its competitors, IdentityForce gives you up to $1 million in recovery insurance. So in the worst case that someone stole your identity, which is not a joke, and started bawling out, they'd make sure you are compensated up to $1 million. At $23.99 a month, it's on par with most other products we've reviewed. It's also offered by TransUnion, which lends some of its reputation to IdentityForce. What we didn't like, IdentityForce doesn't offer credit monitoring on its $17.99 plan, which is a lot to pay for just identity monitoring. If you already have credit monitoring and only need identity protection, Xandr offers this for less than $10 in their Cyber Elite plan. And if you do need credit monitoring, you can get something like Aura. At $15, you'll still be paying less than the cheapest IdentityForce plan. On the user experience side, the mobile app doesn't have full functionality. You can receive credit alerts and check out different details of your credit account, but if you want full control, and to be able to see everything, the online dashboard is a necessity. A quirky thing that we noticed is you have to speak to a representative to get a family plan. Most other providers let you buy this on their website. It's just puzzling why they make you jump through so many hoops. Features. What features does IdentityForce bring to the table? That's a good question, and I'm happy you asked it. Social security number monitoring. Their SSN tracking alerts you if there's an unfamiliar name, alias, or address associated with your social security number, which could be an indication of fraud, allowing you to react quickly. Good prevention. Dark web monitoring. IdentityForce will monitor all of your personal information and alert you when it finds any of them being exposed on the dark web. Some things it looks for is social security number, driver's license, phone number, bank account information, and credit and debit card numbers. Basically, any personally identifiable information that fraudsters could use to steal your identity and commit fraud in your name. Address change. They're going to be checking with the United States Postal Service to ensure your address hasn't been changed. This is important because someone could reach out to the USPS and try to start receiving your mail. So they'll alert you if your address has changed. Credit monitoring. They'll be checking your credit history to ensure no one is taking out new lines of credit in your name, which is fraud. IdentityForce also provides you with all of your reports and scores from the three major credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. They'll be closely monitoring your accounts and provide you with something called a credit tracker. That's going to actually give you what your credit score has looked like over the past. You'll get to see the history of your credit score, and this will help you get an idea of how you can improve your credit moving forward, or get an understanding of why it is the way it is. They also have something called a credit score simulator that allows you to see what different purchases will affect your credit and how they'll affect your credit. It's great to play with if you have an upcoming expense you plan on putting on your credit card. Payday loan monitoring. Payday loans are a big vulnerability because this is where credit monitoring fails. All people need to get a payday loan is to use your social security number and job details. They don't even need your credit. IdentityForce protects you by tracking if payday loans are being taken out in your name. 401k. IdentityForce will take a look at your investment accounts and monitor them to see what is taking place and keep you informed. So if you're a job hopper and you have switched jobs a lot or recently and you want the details of what's going on with your 401k, this is particularly useful. Social media accounts. A feature that is nice to have but doesn't pertain to your identity is social media account monitoring. IdentityForce does a scan to ensure violence, cyberbullying, and discrimination are not taking place on your accounts. On a family plan, you can even connect your kids' accounts to keep an eye on their social media activity. You know those little rascals are up to something on those accounts. Keep track of them. Reimbursement and recovery. If you do have your identity stolen and lose money, IdentityForce will reimburse you. Not only the money that you may potentially lose from having your identity stolen, but also legal fees. All of that up to $1 million. If your identity is stolen, they also have certified protection experts there to help you restore your identity 24/7. They can save you hundreds of hours by completing paperwork, making calls, and doing the heavy lifting to help you restore your good name. Who you call when you have your identity stolen is important. IdentityForce does seem to have credible customer support with the #1 rated member service. If you're having issues with something related to your identity and you need an update or help understanding, they have multiple ways to get in contact with them. From calling to email, you can actually leave them a message when you call as well. Plans. There's not too much to say here since the differences between IdentityForce's plans are pretty straightforward. They're both identical except Ultra Secure Plus Credit offers added credit monitoring, as its name suggests. On IdentityForce's family plan, you get something called Child Watch. Essentially, Child Watch adds your kids' social security numbers into the monitoring mix and gives your kids that peace of mind protection as well, because you know they're thinking about it. Let's take a gander at the web dashboard. This is the IdentityForce web dashboard. As you can see, it will show you alerts about what's going on with the information that it's monitoring, such as your phone number, your email address, any other information that it's currently monitoring for. If there is something that's come up, it's going to alert you about it. Below that, it's going to continue to encourage you to set up your profile if you need to, telling you what to check out, what you need to look at, and encourage you to add as much information as possible so they can monitor as much information as you give them. Below that is services. And this essentially is what they're monitoring. You can check out the identity information that they're monitoring for, the credit scanning that they're doing, the financial scans on your financial accounts, and the social scans on your social media accounts that they're doing. This is a quick way to access them right in your dashboard. And below that is your credit score, and it's going to show you your credit score for the big three, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. And it also tells you a little tidbit about where you're placing in regards to the rest of the population. It's pretty cool. It's really easy to just check out what your credit score is and where it's at based on the big three. And below that is your credit score tracker, and this essentially is tracking the history of your credit score, how many points you're going up or down in any given month. It'll display all that in a nice little graph right here. Below that, just general education, articles, and resources that you can read to stay up to date on how people are being scammed today and how you can protect your identity best. And it also is going to say download the app if you haven't already. The next tab is the Identity Vault, and in the Identity Vault is where all of your personal information and all the information that IdentityForce is monitoring will be stored. Hence the name Identity Vault. It's where they keep all the goodies. Outside of the standard things like your email address, social security number, your physical address, etc., you can also add additional information for them to monitor, such as your driver's license, passport, medical insurance, and your mother's maiden name. Something to note about the passport is that virtually does nothing to protect your identity per se. The worst that people can do if they were to get a hold of your passport or forge your passport would be crossing borders and getting into countries not necessarily anything that would allow them to take money out in your name. Below that is social media, and this is where you can add your social media accounts that you would like monitored. What IdentityForce does is they just go through and they scan it for perceived violence, content on there, profanity, and other things that could be categorized as cyberbullying or discriminatory. And it's always good to have, and they'll notify you if any of that information is going on. Once again, not part of protecting your identity per se, but good to know because your reputation is part of your identity, and you also don't want anything on there that's going to be negative or shouldn't be there. And lastly, inside of the Identity Vault is your financial accounts. You'll be able to add your accounts and your cards right here so they can begin monitoring them for if somebody's opening a new account in your name, increasing a line of credit in your name, or potentially committing fraudulent financial activities. These are the accounts that they're going to monitor. If you switch to the next tab inside of Identity Vault, it's Secure Storage. And inside of Secure Storage, you can set up your Lost Wallet Assistance, and what that does is it stores a record of your wallet contents in one location so you can easily replace them if they're lost or stolen. You don't have to worry about it. You just come in here and take care of it very quickly. And below that is your financial, medical documents, and images. And you have, depending on your plan, up to 100 megabytes of medical, financial, and personal files that you would like to keep stored safely somewhere and making them easy to access and retrieve. Next is the password manager. IdentityForce offers a password manager. The more passwords you add, the more you're able to know that they're all in one secure location, and you can use the password tool to test the strength and generate stronger passwords and just search for passwords inside of here as well. Inside the alerts tab, in the alerts tab, it's essentially going to alert you if anything comes up that you would need to take a look at. All the information that it's monitoring, it's going to tell you if something's going on. This could be social media accounts, this could be financial accounts, this could be your phone number or email address. All of your alerts are going to show up right here. And if any open cases come from any of these alerts, it's going to be shown right there. In the cases tab, I don't have any cases, as you can see, but if you were to have an open case, you can see more details here, and any of the cases that you've dealt with will show up here as well. In the credit tab, and the credit tab is probably the most powerful tab that IdentityForce offers, in my opinion, because they do such a good job of offering various tools for your credit. So when you first hit the credit tab, you're going to go to your credit score and see your credit scores once again from the big three. Below that, you're also going to see the credit score tracker, same thing that you saw on the dashboard. You can click on the next tab, which is the credit report, and inside the credit report is a credit summary, and it pretty much has all of the information about your credit history and anything that you'd ever need, which I think is pretty useful. It shows you the balances on your credit accounts, how many accounts you have open, how many accounts you have closed, any delinquent activity that you've had or delinquent accounts you've had, and then inquiries you've had in the past couple of years. Below that is your credit history, and this is just going to show you information about your credit, what you've been up to and what you have going on, which is pretty cool. And you can filter through all the different credit accounts that you've had open to see the information that has been on them and how TransUnion and Equifax have tracked them. Beneath that is your 2-year payment history. So it essentially shows you if you've been a good boy or a bad boy, a good girl or a bad girl, and how you've been able to pay and manage your credit. You can also look at personal information, address information, recent inquiries, and you can contact creditor if you need to. The next tab is the credit simulator, and this is the tool that I really like. I think it's very fun, and essentially what it does is you can play with how things are going to affect your credit score. So if you're like, I'm going to add a credit card with a limit of $100,000, what would it do to my credit? You would enter that in, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see your current score, and you click simulate score, and it would provide you with an updated simulated score of what it would do for your credit score. And what I like about that is there's so many other things that you could do. You could raise credit line on a credit card, you could raise the balance on a credit card, you can see how adding a mortgage in the amount of X would affect your credit. It's very cool. It's a very interesting simulator for sure, and it helps you make better decisions when you're faced with new credit score-esque decisions. In the freeze your credit portion, you pretty much have to contact the big three here. You got to manage a freeze, manage a freeze, manage a freeze. This is not as simple as the other identity theft products that we have covered, where it's just a button to freeze things. Within IdentityForce, you actually have to contact them to manage your freeze. I know, bummer. Transactions, this is where your transactions would be if you had financial accounts set up, essentially just showing what's going on and if you need to be alerted for any fraudulent activity. Resources, as you've guessed it, it's just a bunch of blogs and other resources that you could use to up your education on identity theft and how you can better protect yourself. If you wanted to stay up to date with breaches and scams, calculators to help you compare loans, credit card comparison, auto lease versus buying, mortgage qualification, debt consolidation, and mortgage refinancing. This is a pretty cool section here if you are also trying to make another big money or identity related move. In the forms tab, there's a bunch of different forms that you can check out. If you wanted to write a letter to Equifax, just use this template. Letters to Experian, please remove my information from your marketing list, which is good, because why are they marketing with your identity information? What's wrong with that? Below that, you can resolve a credit dispute, letter to a credit bureau, general complaint letter, general complaint email, medical ID, fraud protection, and then there's a consumer action handbook. This is a bunch of information that'll help you out in the case that you need to reach out to somebody or let them know that there's something going on that you'd like resolved. In the downloads tab, this is just encouraging you to download the online PC protection tools and download their iOS or Android app. Junk mail and calls. In the junk mail and calls, you can opt out of pre-screened credit card offers, telemarketing phone calls, commercial emails, etc., all by setting this up and going through these different resources that they have. And lastly, there's support. Insurance, all plans have insurance, and depending on what yours is, it'll determine how much they will reimburse you for. So that's what it'll state right here. And then you have a dedicated resolution specialist. Just give them a call anytime if something comes up. Mobile application. Their mobile app has a 3.3 out of 5 stars in the Apple App Store and a 4.2 out of 5 stars on the Google Play Store. IdentityForce mobile application, when you first log into the dashboard, you're going to see your alerts in the top left that you can review, see credit scores next to that, so you can instantly access and see what your credit scores are, and you can click view credit reports to see more information. And to the right of that, you're going to see education, which is just going to be blogs, which is similar things that you saw on the web dashboard. It's going to continue to encourage you to set up your profile if you need to add more information. Alerts beneath that, it's going to show you anything that you would need to review based on the information that it is monitoring. You can click view all alerts to get more information there. All of your alerts are lined up and you can click on various ones to get more details. In your identity vault, similar to the web dashboard, it's just going to show you that information that it is monitoring. And it's almost an equivalent to the web dashboard where you can add additional information like your driver's license, medical ID, your mother's maiden name, etc. To the right, you can click passwords. This is where you can add a password. And then the lost wallet tab, you can also add your cards and other things that you keep in your wallet in the instance that they are lost. You can also add documents. No records exist at this time. You can also add images that you would like kept in this identity vault. To the right of that is your credit score. Same thing. Has all of your credit scores, and it's going to have a credit tracker. So if you go to the score tracker, it's the same displays in the web dashboard. And then in the credit report, you can go ahead and view the same information as the web dashboard just in the palm of your hand. And you can go ahead and freeze your credit by contacting any of the big three once again. And then on the very last tab is support. So you can contact support via email, via phone, and this is just the information to do so. Then in the hamburger menu, you're going to see all of these different things like the services that your plan covers. Then you have your billing information, contact information. You can set up notification preferences, account passwords, security questions, log out, app settings. But what's really cool is the mobile attack control. So the mobile attack control is part of setting up your mobile device to be protected at all times. This is a pretty cool feature. It's just going to scan if you've accidentally downloaded a virus or if there's anything on your phone that could be potentially dangerous to your identity. Concluding thoughts. IdentityForce's premium offering is comprehensive and contains all the essential elements to keeping your identity secure. So if you're not too worried about price or if the TransUnion brand name means something to you, then you can't go too far wrong with IdentityForce. That said, we're still not the biggest fans of IdentityForce. Its main drawback is that its entry-level plan doesn't offer credit monitoring. We feel that it's way too expensive at $17.99 a month to not offer that. You could get a full suite of features for less than that if you go with a provider like Aura. We've done a review of that as well, and we'll leave a link to it in the description below. That's everything for IdentityForce. Hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on the best practices and products to stay secure, and drop a comment about whether you think IdentityForce will be your identity theft product of choice. We'd love to hear from you. All relevant links will be in the description below. My name is Nicholas Itali, and I'll see you in the next one. Now we have a full comprehensive written review over at houseofdebt.org, so go ahead and check that out.